Now we start with the last colligative property, that is osmotic pressure. Before moving on to osmotic pressure, we need to know what is semi-permeable membrane since it is used in the process. Semi-permeable membrane, it is a film, it is a very thin material which is made up of cellophane. Now cellophane is a gelatin like paper, you all must have seen, so the appearance is somewhat like that, which has pores, and those pores are only going to allow the solvent molecules to pass through it. So the pores which are there, pores means hole, so the holes which are there, they are so small that they are not going to allow the solute molecules or ions which are having high molecular mass to pass through them, okay, or through the holes of the semi permeable membrane. It is only going to allow solvent molecules to pass through it, and that is why it is also called as selective membrane. Okay, selective, why it is called as selective membrane? Because it is allowing to pass only solvent molecules, it does not allow solute molecules to pass through it. So this is a picture of how the cellophane material looks like. Okay, so it is so thin. Now we are going to study about osmosis. Okay, what is this process osmosis? For example, if I take a beaker which is having two partitions in it, okay, and this is separated by a semi-permeable membrane. So this is basically the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, now this is one beaker, this is the another beaker, and both the beakers are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, now in the first beaker you say that there is only solvent which is present, and in the next beaker there is solution present. Okay, now similarly, if I take one more case, here also I have two beakers again separated by a semi-permeable membrane. This you have again this is filled with a solution, and the second beaker is also filled with solution, but here there is a dilute solution and here there is concentrated solution. Okay, so I hope this much is clear. Now we know that if there is a semi-permeable membrane, means solvent molecules are going to pass through it. Okay, but the question is from where the solvent molecules are going to pass, either from the left hand side to the right hand side or from the right hand side to the left hand side, right? Now if you look in the first case, here there is only solvent, whereas in the next beaker you have solution, and we know solution is a combination of solute and solvent, right? So basically in the first beaker we have solvent, in the other beaker we have a combination of solute and solvent which is forming your solution. Okay, so because solvent is present in both the cases, the solvent molecules are going to pass from both the beakers, okay, through the semi-permeable membrane. I told you semi-permeable membrane only allows the movement of solvent molecules. So from both the beakers the solvent molecules are going to pass, but the rate of passage of solvent molecules is more from one beaker to the other beaker. So how is it going to move? So from this beaker, that is from the solvent beaker, the solvent molecules will move into the solution beaker. Now why is that so? Okay, I will let you know why so. Now similarly consider this diagram here. In one beaker you have dilute solution, and other beaker you have concentrated solution. Here also there is going to be solute. In concentration also you are going to have a solute. Now because this is dilute, means it is going to have more solvent, right? And because here this is concentrated, means here solute is going to be more and solvent is going to be less. So now how the solvent molecules are going to pass? they will pass from dilute to that of concentrated solution. Okay, now why does this happen? Because the simple reason is because of the vapor pressure of solvent. Okay, if you know, solvent has the tendency to vaporize or evaporate, so here it is stronger as compared to that of solution. So the solvent molecules will move from this area to the other beaker. Okay, if you look here in dilute, here also there is more solvent and here it is less solvent. So where there is more solvent, more evaporation will take place. That means the vapor pressure of this particular solution is high. Hence the solvent molecules will move from dilute to concentrated solution. Now in both the cases, because the solvent molecules are moving from the left hand side to the right hand side, what will happen to the amount of solvent? Here on this side, the amount of solvent is going to decrease, right? The amount of solvent is going to decrease. And what is going to happen on the other side? The amount of liquid or the amount of solution is going to increase. So amount of liquid increases. But now what is going to happen if the amount of liquid is increasing? It is going to bring about decrease in concentration. Okay, why the concentration is getting decreased? If you look here, concentrated, if the solvent molecules are coming from the dilute beaker to this, means more water is going to enter in this beaker. So now what is going to happen? In place of less solvent, it is going to become more solvent. Okay, so because the water quantity is increasing here, the concentration is going to decrease. So how are you going to define osmosis? It is the net spontaneous flow of solvent molecules into the solution or from dilute solution to concentrated solution through semi-permeable membrane is called as osmosis. Okay, again I am telling you, the net spontaneous flow of solvent molecules into the solution or from dilute solution to more concentrated solution through semi-permeable membrane is called as osmosis. I hope you are clear with the concept of osmosis. This slide here gives you the information or the definition of osmosis and also a diagrammatic representation of osmosis. Now we start with osmotic pressure. An experiment was performed to explain the concept of osmotic pressure. Okay, so for that they took a Thistle's tube. Now you can see how it looks like. So this is the mouth of the Thistle's tube and then there is a hollow tube like structure. Now what did they do is they covered the mouth of this Thistle's tube with a semi-permeable membrane, and in this Thistle's tube they added little sugar solution. Okay, now sugar solution means sugar is going to be your solute and water is going to be the solvent, hence forming the sugar solution. Then they took this Thistle's tube and they kept it inverted. Okay, so they kept it inverted like this in a beaker which had water in it. So you can see the mouth, it is already covered with the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, and then you have this little, you can say the sugar solution that we added. Okay, so inside what you see here is the sugar solution and outside it is water. Fine. Now according to osmosis, from where the solvent molecules are going to move? From the beaker into the Thistle's tube or from the Thistle's tube into the beaker? Now we have two things. One is water and the other is the sugar solution. So we know this is going to be more concentrated. Okay, this water means it is just solvent, right? This is solvent and this is a solution. So we know according to osmosis the solvent molecules are going to move from solvent to solution. So the water which is there in the beaker, it is going to move up in the Thiesel's tube. Okay, so what is going to happen when the solvent molecules is going, then the level of water is going to rise in this tube. Okay, at the same time, when this process of osmosis is taking place, hydrostatic pressure is built in this tube of the Thiesel's tube. Okay, hydrostatic pressure means the pressure which is exerted by the liquid on the walls of this Thiesel's tube. Okay, so this hydrostatic pressure that is created right now, it cannot stop the osmosis because this pressure is more here. Okay, so a point is going to come when the hydrostatic pressure becomes so strong that it is going to stop the process of osmosis. That is, it is not going to allow the solvent molecules to enter in the Thiesel's tube, and then this level of water inside the Thiesel's tube is going to remain constant. Okay, and that hydrostatic pressure is denoted by Hg. So what is going to happen? When is that hydrostatic pressure going to become strong? When the number of molecules entering the Thiesel's tube is going to become equal to the number of molecules leaving the Thiesel's tube as well. Means if 2 molecules are entering from water and going into Thiesel's tube, then 2 molecules will come out from the Thiesel's tube and will enter into the beaker, right? So this is the hydrostatic pressure. That is the pressure that is exerted by liquid on the walls of the Thiesel's tube. So what is the definition of osmotic pressure? The hydrostatic pressure that stops osmosis is an osmotic pressure of the solution, and osmotic pressure is denoted by pi. Now this hydrostatic pressure which is created, it is found equal to H rho G. Now what is H there? It is going to be the height of liquid column in the tube, rho is going to be the density of solution, and G is the acceleration due to gravity. Now we are going to study the types of solutions. So there are 3 types of solutions, that is isotonic, hypertonic and hypotonic solution. Now you can see they have broken the word into 2. The first one, iso stands for same and tonic stands for strength. So if you look at the diagram down there, you will see that the number of solute and solvent molecules are same. Okay, so you can see the same concentration of solute and solvent molecules. If you move to the next one, that is hypertonic, then the word hyper stands for more and tonic means strength again. Now here if you look, then the solute is going to be in larger amount as compared to that of solvent. Okay, and the last one is hypotonic, and hypo means less and tonic again means strength, and here the solute molecules are going to be very less as compared to that of solvent. So the solvent molecules are going to be more. Now I will explain you with an example the definitions that are given in your textbook. Okay, so the first definition for isotonic solution is 2 or more solutions having the same osmotic pressure. So if you are taking 2 solutions, both should have the same osmotic pressure. So here is one example. You are taking 0.1 molar urea solution and 0.1 molar sucrose solution. If you look here, both the solutions are different, as in the solute present is different. Okay, but if you look at the concentration, then the concentration is 0.1 molar. Okay, if the concentration is same, means they are going to have the same osmotic pressure, and there is not going to be flow of solvent molecules taking place from urea to sucrose or from sucrose to urea. Because the concentration is same, they are going to have the same osmotic pressure, and because they are having the same osmotic pressure, there is not going to be any net flow of solvent molecules, and hence they come under isotonic solution. So what is isotonic solution? 2 or more solutions that are going to have the same osmotic pressure. Now next is hypertonic and hypotonic solutions. These 2 solutions, they are going to have unequal osmotic pressure. Okay, so first we'll look for the hypertonic solution here. More concentrated solution, it is going to have a higher osmotic pressure. Okay, and that solution is going to be called as the hypertonic solution. Hyper means more, right? Next is hypotonic. So more dilute solution. More dilute solution means what? The solute is going to be less and the solvent is going to be more. So more dilute solution, it is going to have a lower osmotic pressure, and that is said to be hypotonic solution. Now here again I have taken two examples. One is of sucrose solution and the other one is urea solution. Sucrose solution is having higher osmotic pressure and urea is having lower osmotic pressure. So again, you know, sucrose solution is going to be hypertonic as compared to urea solution, and urea solution is going to be hypotonic when you compare it with sucrose solution. So this is the explanation that is given in your textbook. So you can either write any of the definitions explained. Now we are going to study the equation for osmotic pressure and concentration of solute. Now we know that for dilute solution, the osmotic pressure is given by the equation pi is equal to N2RT upon V. Now this pi here means osmotic pressure. I told you osmotic pressure is denoted by pi. So for dilute solutions, we know that the osmotic pressure is given by the equation pi is equal to N2RT by V. So pi is nothing but osmotic pressure in terms of atmospheric pressure. Okay, then N2 is moles of non-volatile solute. R is the gas constant, which is having a value of 0.08206 decimeter cube atmosphere K inverse mole inverse. Okay, so this is the unit for gas constant, and then we know that T is going to be the temperature and V is the volume in decimeter cube. Okay, but if you look at this N2 by V, we know that number of moles upon volume in concentration is nothing but equal to molarity. Molarity is denoted by big letter M. So in place of N2 by V, what are you going to write? M. So what will this equation become now? Pi is equal to M R T. So this is the equation for the osmotic pressure and concentration of solution. Now we are going to derive the equation to calculate the molar mass of solute from osmotic pressure. Okay, so now we are going to consider the same equation of osmotic pressure, that is pi is equal to N2RT by V. Okay, so we know that for dilute solutions the osmotic pressure is given by pi is equal to N2RT by V. Now V stands for volume of the solution, right? So of course there is a solution prepared, and because we are calculating the molar mass of solute is also present there in the solution, right? So if you want to consider the weight and molar mass for solute, then we know that it is going to be W2 gram of solute, which is going to have a molar mass of M2. Okay, molar mass M2, and this N2 is nothing but number of moles, and you know what is the formula for number of moles? That is N. So because it is N2 here, I am just mentioning the symbol N2. It is going to be weight of solute upon the molar mass of solute, right? So that is nothing but W2 upon M2. So what am I going to do? In place of N2, I am going to substitute W2 by M2. So now that equation is going to become pi is equal to W2RT upon M2V. Since we are considering, or since we are concerned with the molar mass of solute, so molar mass is denoted by M2. So get that M2 out here. So what are you left with now? Transfer that pi here. So that is going to be W2RT upon pi V. Okay. So this is the formula that you will be using to calculate the molar mass of solute from osmotic pressure. Next topic is reverse osmosis. Now you know the definition of osmosis. It is the flow of solvent molecules into the solution, or you know it moves from dilute solution to more concentrated solution through semi-permeable membrane. So now what is going to happen in reverse osmosis? The ulta process is going to take place. Now it is going to move from concentrated to dilute solution. Okay, so what is the criteria that is required for a reverse osmosis to take place is you have to apply a pressure which is larger as compared to that of the osmotic pressure. Okay, so if you look at this slide here, I'll just read and I'll explain. As mentioned earlier, osmosis is a flow of solvent through a semi-permeable membrane into the solution. So this is the definition of osmosis. The direction of osmosis can be reversed by applying a pressure larger than the osmotic pressure. Okay, so you have to apply a pressure which is more as compared to the osmotic pressure of the solution there. Now, the pure solvent then flows from solution into the pure solvent through the semi-permeable membrane, and that is called as the reverse osmosis. Now, they have given one diagram here which is explaining you the reverse osmosis. Now, the schematic setup for reverse osmosis here, fresh water and salty water are separated by the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, when the pressure larger than the osmotic pressure of solution is applied to the solution, pure water from salty water is going to pass into fresh pure water through the membrane. So you can see the reverse is taking place here. And why is that? Because more pressure is applied as compared to that of the osmotic pressure. Actually, according to osmosis, what should happen? Fresh water means it is just solvent, and salty water means what? It is going to have salt which is solute and water which is solvent, forming your salt water which is a solution. So according to osmosis, fresh water should move into the salt water, right? But here what is happening, because you are applying more pressure, salt water, so the water from the salt water is entering into the fresh water. Why? Because you are applying more pressure as compared to the osmotic pressure. That is the reverse of osmosis.